everyone, Jessiana Seville here from thekidneyrd.com. Today I'm going to go through 4 of the big questions, the big myths that I hear all the time about holidays and diets, including alcohol, potatoes, and that one-day cheat. So I want to go through some of those huge topics today as part of our holiday week on how you manage your nutrition with chronic kidney disease. If you don't know me, I am a renal dietitian. The website is kidneyrd.com. It's a group of registered dietitians, renal nutrition experts, and we help people take a very comprehensive look at what they can do with their nutrition to really, really get some traction for preserving their kidney function. Sometimes that's meal planning. Sometimes it is way, way more than that. We look at the labs. Some people like to do some deep dive testing to really, look at their micronutrients and what's going on with their body. We take a functional approach, which means we're interested in root cause, and then we build the nutrition plan from that. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. The biggest question, probably the number one question I get during the holidays, is about alcohol, right? So the myth is that I should limit or avoid alcohol if I have CKD. Now, in some ways, this is very, very true, right? The kidneys are a filtration organ along with the liver, and putting extra filtration burden on them is not ideal. So for people that are wanting to use a little bit of alcohol during the holidays, the very first and foremost thing is that ideally you just wouldn't use it. If you really, 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 really want to, and you're wondering how much, that is a very important question to talk with your doctor or pharmacist about, because the alcohol can interact with some of your medications. That's one of the big reasons you avoid it, other than, just the physical response as well. The second thing that you'd want to know about alcohol is that alcohol really impacts your kidneys' ability to keep the right amount of water in your body. So for some people, that means that there can be issues with blood pressure, or just the overall hydration and the balance of your body can be off if you consume alcohol, especially in excess. The other thing is that alcohol can impact your blood pressure, right? In some cases, it will cause it to go up, and you definitely don't want to see that happening with chronic kidney disease. So what we advise our patients to do, if they really want to have a little bit of alcohol, it has to be a discussion with their doctor first. The second thing is we try and find other celebratory drinks, like sparkling cider, or maybe some dry alcoholic drinks. There are a lot of other ways you can celebrate and enjoy without having an alcoholic beverage. If you choose to have some, then you want to keep your portion very, very small and limited to just one, for sure. But again, always talk with your doctor about alcohol if you're going to include it. Okay, now the second myth that I think is really important is that people will say, well, one day won't hurt me. Now, this is false. And let me explain why. For some people, maybe that is true, but you have to be very careful at getting in the mindset of one day won't hurt me. It's a cheating mindset, not choosing mindset, right? Cheating mindset makes you the victim. You have this restriction, and so you just have to have this other thing. Choosing means you know your options, you've weighed your options, and you choose to do something. Now, here's the thing about this one day thing, right? There are ways to be moderate on one day, and for many people, this one day of relaxing your diet won't have these huge lasting effects. Sometimes people will say, like it's Christmas, I'll just have a little tiny bit of ham. I'm just gonna have this because it's Christmas. That I 100% understand, right? If you can stick with moderation. However, you really want to think carefully ahead of time before you go ahead and give yourself that one day choice. There's a couple reasons for this. For some people, that one choice leads to many other choices consecutively that are not what they want, right? People get momentum as they're making changes, and when you get off of that momentum, it can sometimes be hard to get it back going again. We see that a lot with diet changes. People have, and I have experienced this personally, right? People have, made a direction, a choice, and they're moving in that direction. They're able to stay focused. They've minimized the amount of times they actually need to choose something, right? They say, if I'm not going to have meat, working on plant-based, if I'm not going to have meat, I'm just not going to have it. They've made the choice, so they don't have to keep making it over and over again. As soon as they have that one day, they choose a little bit of meat, it suddenly introduces that choice back to them many times, and they have to struggle with choosing a lot. It takes a lot of energy. The other thing is that a one-day exception, especially if you have very late-stage kidney disease, can make a huge difference if you go overboard on salt or protein or potassium without thinking carefully. Those three things, salt, protein, and potassium, if you get a huge quantity of them in a one-day cheat, it can, for some people, can end them up in the hospital with a lot of potassium. I can think of, at least one of our clients who went on vacation and, they had a lot of one days, which ended up knocking out their kidney function because they were right at the end. So you don't want to have the one-day syndrome where one day leads to another, this leads to another. If you plan to relax things for Christmas Day or special event, just plan ahead and think about it, and think about all the ways you can stay on track in a positive way as well. All right, third thing, I'm going to bring this up forever and ever and ever and ever and ever until it is resolved, but soaking potatoes removes potassium, and that is so false. Soaking potatoes does not remove potassium. It just does not remove it. It is not supported in the literature at all. So if you're being very kidney healthy and putting your potatoes in a bowl of water the night before and soaking them so then you can cook them, it's not effective. What does remove potassium is double boiling them. So if you peel them, cut them small, boil them in some water, throw out the water, and then boil them again, you'll remove upwards of 50 to 75% of the potassium. So if you're on a restriction, that's what you want to do, not soak your potatoes. Now, soaking potatoes lends really well to mashed potatoes, right? That's a very common dish during the holidays. So if I had a potassium restriction, I still want to mash potatoes on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. That's how I would cook them. I would, peel them, dice them, boil them twice, and then mash them up. That's a very, very important process if you're going to remove potassium, not just soak them and then cook them. Okay, number 4, I shouldn't attend any social events because there won't be anything I can eat. False. That is also a false myth that really circulates around, and I feel like it handicaps people from being able to socialize in the way they want to. Now, some people feel really worried about offending a host and saying no to certain dishes, and there culturally or sometimes where that can be offensive. Oftentimes, though, we have worked up in our head that it is far worse than we think it is. Most people are very understanding about dietary restrictions, and they don't mind if you say no if it's for your health, right? The other thing is sometimes I find that my patients are going to worry that they're going to stand out just because they eat differently. Now, really, truthfully, and I have worked with many, 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 many people, as well as navigated this situation personally with my husband and myself in different time frames in our life, is that most people are really not as judgmental or nosy as we think they are. If you're worried about offending someone, either call ahead and explain so it's not like this big public announcement situation and you just kind of can keep it on the down low, or you can use humor. I love using humor in situations like that. I'll usually say things like, so a personal example, when my third baby was born, he had this really terrible eczema. So I made some significant dietary changes, which included cutting dairy out 100% from my diet. So when people would come and offer cheesecake, or they'd have, I don't know, that's cheesecake, common thing at some social events. So they'd have cheesecake. I would say something like, that cheesecake looks amazing, and I would never pass it up. But although I love cheesecake, it does not love me right now. So I'm going to pass this time And maybe in the future I can have that. So I usually would use that phrase, you know, that looks amazing. And you know, I generally would never pass that up, but even though I like it, it does not like me. That phrase right there, I like it, it doesn't like me, is a really enough of a humor that you can really slide off some of the, you can kind of deflect some of the questions or judgment or whatever you're worried about. That's a phrase that I'll use a lot. I like it, it doesn't like me. So as a recap, alcohol, can you have it? Talk to your doctor about it. We do not recommend it. We try and find substitutions whenever it's possible. Will one day hurt me? Maybe. If you're going to plan to relax your diet for a day and choose to have some foods you wouldn't typically have, plan ahead and make sure you have made that choice consciously and it has a endpoint so it doesn't become one day syndrome, which is one day after another after another. Number 3, soaking potatoes does not remove potassium. You must double boil them. And number 4, don't attend any social events because there's no way you're going to find anything to eat. You can bring stuff yourself if it's a potluck, or you can use some, you know, different phrasing that can work really well, such as, I like it, but it doesn't like me, so I'm not going to have that today. I hope that is helpful for you. Those are some big questions, big concerns that come up during the holidays. I know there's a little bit of a longer video, but I do hope that you found value today. You can visit us at kidneyrd.com. If you think this would be helpful for someone else going into the holiday season, some of your fellow, you know, kidney heroes out there, please share it with them because we'd love for them to get some of these tips as well and clarify some of these big myths so they can live healthy as long as possible. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.